Join me as I take you on a journey through the vibrant world of the 2023 Vienna Art Journal Festival. Get ready to immerse yourself in a display of creativity, inspiring workshops, and the eclectic atmosphere of this unforgettable retreat. Come along as I share my first-hand experience, highlights, and the incredible moments that made this event a true celebration of art. So let's dive in. So we were greeted by 4 passionate hosts, Christine, Michelle, Andrea, and Tamara, and we formed a community of 34 artsy participants, and the creative energy was palpable. From the moment we arrived, our shared space became a hub of inspiration, fostering connections and igniting a collective passion for artistic expression. Just like last year, we were fortunate to receive an array of incredibly cool sponsored goodies. They definitely added an extra touch of magic to our retreat. But personally, I was happy that there were less goodies this year because I find it all very overwhelming. And by the way, those Klimt-inspired illustrations were created by Christine using AI technology, and they are just stunning. I also love the stencil from Stamperia. They have a whole Klimt series of stencils, and we got to use some of the others in that series as well. If you're interested in attending a future art journal festival, I suggest you follow Christine on Instagram. I have linked Instagram accounts of all 4 hosts below, so please check them out. Most likely, the next one will be around the same time next year in Germany, by the way. And also, I have a playlist linked below with videos related to this event, like what I packed, making my art journal, and an ephemera book, etc. These events, on one hand, are challenging for me because I'm not used to being around so many people since I'm usually mostly at home filming on my own. But it's so amazing to meet like-minded artists in real life who share the same passion. It was wonderful to see some of my crafty friends again, as well as meeting new ones. And from the beginning, I was totally spoiled. My friend Petra, whom I met at the last Art Journal Festival, gifted me these cute die cuts and this beautiful fabric snippet roll. I'm so in love with it. Petra has a German YouTube channel and she shares how she made the snippet roll. I will link Petra's channel below for you as well. So I immediately decided this fabric needs to go on my journal cover, and I absolutely love it. I also received this adorable needle booklet from my dear friend Hani. How cute is this? It's in typical Hani neutral colors, and I can't wait to start using it. Thank you again to both of you for your generosity. What was added this year was the possibility to sign up for a 1-hour workshop with one of the 4 hosts. You could sign up for 3 workshops in total. I signed up for 2, although one was actually a field trip. More about that later. So the workshop I took was with Tamara, who was a participant last year and part of the organization this year, and she shared some abstract collage techniques. We worked on 6 papers at a time, starting off with white gesso and mark making with black paint, adding color accents, and finally gold. There were 2 papers that I liked, which was the one on the top with big circles and the red, and the black one with the white and gold marks. I did not really like any of the others as a whole, but I could imagine using smaller pieces of them in collages. So thank you, Tamara, for this fun workshop. What you see here is an accordion-style art journal that the participants of last year's Art Journal Festival created throughout the year. We each got the journal for a couple of weeks to create a page before we sent it to the next person, and finally it ended up back in Christine's studio. That was such a neat idea, and you can find the video where I create my page listed below as well. I also wanted to include some footage of me working in my little journal, and here I'm trying out these precision fine line applicators, which I had been wanting to try for years. I found them at a local art store here in Vienna called Bösner. You can also find them on Amazon. On these pages, I added one of the die cuts from Petra and some parts of the images from Christine's AI creations. And then I decided to add a photo of my parents over these ovals since I didn't like those, and I outlined them to make them stand out more. I'm currently really loving the mixture and contrast of vintage black and white photos combined with vibrant colors. So here I'm adding another photo of my parents printed on an overhead transparency. And this is my ephemera book. You can see the video of how I made it in the playlist below. And it turned out to be quite practical for storing my collage fodder. Adding my parents to this journal kind of felt like holding a security blanket. It might surprise you, but I'm an introvert, and being in that kind of an environment can feel a bit unsettling at first. So using these images was like an anchor for me, which grounded me, which was a very interesting and comforting experience. Another fun element that was added this year were positive affirmations that hung around the studio to take and either use yourself or give to someone else. I must say that was one of my favorite things this year. It was so fun to receive them and to give them to others. The one I just received said, "Your work touches me." So this was day 2, which started off at the museum at the Belvedere Palace, and these are some of the Klimt paintings there. It's so magical to see these in real, and I realize how lucky I am to live in a city where culture is so easily accessible. And by the way, I have another video that I recently posted showing you how to use marks inspired by the old masters such as Gustav Klimt. You can find that video in that playlist below as well. It got crowded quickly, and so we took a time out and had lunch at the museum cafe outside, which was really, really nice. Right after that, a group of us went on a field trip to a company called Paper Republic. Their products are handmade from vegetable tanned leather and natural paper in this workshop. They use only non-chrome leather and natural materials without plastic. And as you can see, they have beautiful leather notebooks and inserts as well as writing tools. I was tempted, but I have issues buying leather products in the meantime. I asked them about plans for products using vegan leather, but apparently currently there are no vegan leather options available without plastic inside. So we got a tour of their space, and it was really interesting to see the various stages of the production and packing. We didn't get back to the studio until late afternoon, and afterwards we had a Zoom call with Sketchbook Hamburg. More about that a little bit later. So there wasn't any time to create anything on that day, which I didn't realize when I decided to go on both of these excursions. But it was okay in the end because we had the full day to work in our journals the next day. Christine spontaneously made some paint baths for anyone who was courageous enough to put a journal into. As you can see, the colors are very strong. So I'm glad I didn't do it with my journal, but I really commend those who did. The journals were in the paint for about half an hour and dried overnight, and I do think this one looks really cool. So this is the morning of day 3, and I wanted to show you what my workspace looked like. The organizer and my big yellow shopping trolley worked beautifully, and you can find the links to both of these products below from Amazon Germany. Here I'm sharing some of my process again, and from time to time I received more affirmations as well as business cards, and I loved incorporating everything into my journal. It was a new experience to add German words, which I never do, even though it's my mother tongue. Usually it just doesn't feel right, since I have been speaking English since I was 6, where I lived in the US, and for me English is the language I use for anything to do with art. But I wanted to embrace it for this journal since German was the language of the retreat. If you've seen the video where I show what I packed for this event, you will have seen these chalk markers. I realized they are fun to use with stamps. The pink one worked better than the orange one, and I like the abstract print it gives you. They also work great as stamps themselves by just pressing the square tip onto your paper. Then I received another sentiment, which is hard to translate, but it means something like, "It's great that you exist." By the way, I of course also gave some of these to other participants, and they never failed to put a smile on the recipient's face. What I also really enjoyed was that whatever you were missing, you were able to get from someone else, or at least a substitute. For example, I wanted to add a button on top of the flower, but instead of that, I got these sequins from Petra, which were a fun addition as well. And then this little journal was passed around secretly because it was supposed to be a surprise for Tamara, one of the 4 hosts I mentioned before. She's pregnant, and this was supposed to be like a send-off for her, and so we each created a page in this journal for her, which she received at the end of the 4 days. For my page, I decided to add a copy of one of the backgrounds I made recently. The video for that is also in the playlist below. And I wanted to keep the page fairly simple and quick, since it's not easy to pass it around to 34 people in such a short time. I used a butterfly printed on a transparency as a focal point and added some thread and a stitch scrap underneath. I also added more vibrant color using the chalk marker. And finally, I added a sentiment on top saying, "Take your wings and fly," which I typed on a vintage typewriter that was in the studio there for us to use. Then I signed it on the bottom and passed it on to the next person. Tamara was truly surprised when she received it and was quite speechless. It was very, very cute. So here I'm continuing to work in my journal, adding Petra's beautiful business card. Aren't those just fabulous? I just love the image and the colors. Since I wanted both sides visible, I decided to add it with 2 tiny pieces of fabric hinges. On this opposite page, I made a little tuck spot with this gorgeous vintage wallpaper. I'm obsessed with it and love the combination of these vibrant colors. Then on this page, I'm adding a print of leaves collected by honey with gold paint. I'm very happy how that print turned out. Here I wanted to share the amazing peonies that Petra bought at the market for our table. Aren't they just breathtaking? They turned out to be a great prop for Instagram photos for many of the participants as well. And this was after lunch. I had made myself a black tea with milk, and bought some of my favorite dark chocolate and was a happy puppy. Now let's get back to the topic of the Zoom call we had the day before. Maybe some of you have heard of the Sketchbook Project, which is apparently the largest existing collection of artists' sketchbooks, and there's a digital library as a virtual extension of the Brooklyn Art Library in New York that contains over 25,000 complete scanned contributions. On February 28th, during the transportation of the entire Sketchbook Project collection from Brooklyn to St. Pete, a fire broke out in the moving trailer while passing through Baltimore. Fortunately, all individuals involved in the accident were unharmed. Thanks to the efforts of volunteers and firefighters, approximately 70% of the collection was saved by quickly moving the books off the scene. Local community members from a nearby church assisted in transferring the unaffected books to a safe location. Although some damage occurred, the majority of the books arrived safely in St. Pete. However, it is estimated that around 7,000 books from the collection and most of the organization's supplies may have been lost. So the Zoom call we had was with Florian, the initiator of Sketchbook Hamburg in Germany. Since the beginning of 2020, he has been sending empty sketchbooks to interested artists for a small contribution to cover the cost for the material and the website, etc. The artists fill in their sketchbooks and send them back to Florian. He digitizes the sketchbook, publishes it on his website, and shows it together with other sketchbooks and exhibitions. He sponsored one of the sketchbooks for our art journal festival, and we each had the opportunity to create a page in it. So this book will be sent back to Florian for future exhibitions and for his website. You can find the link to Sketchbook Hamburg below this video, and spoiler, you will hear more about this project in a future video. So for my page, I decided on a braided layered background in neutral tones. Again, time was of the essence so that everyone would get to create a page. I again added a little cluster using a transparent butterfly. That seems to be my thing at the moment. And I added the same sentiment, take your wings and fly, typed on baking paper and signed it on the bottom. I know this video is jumping around a bit, but I wanted to portray the events as they occurred at the studio. So while I was working in the journal, I was interrupted a few times, receiving beautiful gifts, working on these projects in between. So that's what you're getting here as well. We are now on day 4, which was a half day and the last day of the retreat. We all put our journals on display and had the chance to flip through each of them. It was truly amazing to see the variety of styles and sizes of the journals. What a treat to be able to actually touch someone else's journal instead of just watching a flip through on YouTube. I wish you could have all been there in person to see these fabulous works of art. I'm so grateful to have been part of this amazing event again, and I would like to express a huge thank you again to Christine, Michelle, Andrea, and Tamara for the organization and for putting your heart and soul into making this such a special event. What makes my journal so special for me are all the little bits I received from other participants. It's the next morning and I'm back home, as you can see by this background. This is a piece of a huge piece of cardboard that we all worked on using prompts from last year's Art Journal Festival. And we were encouraged to each tear off a piece of it. And if we are attending the next Art Journal Festival, we should bring it. And I think Michelle is going to bind all the pieces into a journal, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, if we want to, we can also use this in our own journals if we're not attending or if we want to have it as a memory in our journals, which I think is what I'm going to do. And lastly, I wanted to share a quick flip through of this journal. It is not finished, but I really, really love it. I adore this fabric piece here from Petra. It's something I would have never combined with my pink cover, but I love the way it looks. And now I have two dragonflies on it. So this was the one that Petra had put on her fabric, and this is the one that I added to my closure. So this is sari silk wrapped around. This is what the sides look like. I'm not really happy with this front page, but I don't know how to make it better, to be honest. This is a handmade paper that I bought at Bösner, and I just colored this one butterfly using a paint marker. This is one of the pieces of the collage fodder we made in Tamara's workshop. This you've seen. Then I added some pockets using some more papers that I received. I think I do need to sew them on since they are waxed. The glue doesn't hold on it, so I will be doing that. And in here I added this cute business card from Michelle, one of our 4 hosts. My mom and a piece of a sewing pattern. Another pocket, which I need to sew on. Then I made this tag in advance. So this is my mom as a dragonfly mom. I don't think I did a video on this one, did I? I did make a video on a similar tag, which I have here in my planner, which is this one right here. And I love both of them. This is my dad with transparent butterfly wings, and he's on a fabric belly band. Here's Petra's business card. You've seen me make this pocket out of the wallpaper, and these are 2 cute little pieces of ephemera that I was also gifted. This is a transparency that I was gifted using one of my printables, and I just attached it by sewing with a golden thread. Here's another wallpaper pocket, vintage collage, which I love. The background here is a tea bag. A very quick collage using a part of a printable from my Keeper of Memories kit. Another little collage using my backdrop paper. This is from the video where I added some Klimt inspired accents, which is below in the playlist. Again, a part of that collage fodder we made in the workshop. These are all from my printables. This is my mom, and it says, "You are my inspiration," which is one of the sentiments that I received from another participant. A pocket made out of backdrop paper that I stitched on by hand using embroidery thread. This is an image that was in a magazine that I found there. So there were a few scrap boxes that we all added papers to, and we could all just use randomly. That was really fun. This is from last year's Art Journal Festival. Another one of the sentiments I received during inspiration for me. This is part of the festival brochure that I added to form 2 pockets. So on the side I added this piece, and I just added the butterfly with some thread. And I also added 2 butterflies on this page, and this is also a pocket. Again, one of those collage photo pieces. And on the back, I added the wrapper of one of these round Lind chocolates, which was super yummy, also from one of the participants. Tiny little collage using some of the scraps that I made. Another one on this side. These are my favorite pieces in my journals, always, when they have like little weird shapes. Again, my mom. This is just a printout of ephemera from my Keeper of Memories kit. This is from a magazine again, and this says, "You are an artist." This is also from one of my digital kits, and I added a sentiment from the Tim Holtz Chatterbox stickers, saying she was a strange girl. Again, one of my Keeper of Memories ephemera. This one is as well, this is from the background pages, and I added some hand stitching here. Again, from my Keeper of Memories backgrounds. Again, I need to sew this. Love this vintage leaf here. This is made with the Klimt stencil that we received. This one was an experiment using one of the Klimt-inspired AI images that Christine created, and then just going over it with the precision bottles. And it says, "It's nice to see you," which was another sentiment that I received. This you've seen me do. Another collage using another one of those transparent butterflies. This is again my mom. Another business card that I received with this cute little pom-pom here. Absolutely adorable. Another one of my ephemera pieces from Keeper of Memories. Another wallpaper pocket. My mom. Another pocket, and this was my name sign that I received. And a little collage with a sticker that we all received as well. Thank you for joining me for this captivating journey through the 2023 Vienna Art Journal Festival. Subscribe to my channel for more inspiring art-related content and creative adventures. And please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content. It helps my channel a lot. Let's continue creating and celebrating art together. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.